Welcome to the deep dive. So, when most people think about how the modern world was shaped, they usually go back to Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel.
And it's a great framework for sure. It explains why Eurasian civilizations had this huge material head start, better crops, more animals, all of that.
Right. But it leaves this really nagging question. Why specifically Europe? Why did this tiny squabbling corner of the world expand globally and not, say, the Ming Dynasty in China?
Which was, without a doubt, the single greatest economic and technological power on the planet in the 15th century. It's not even close.
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to look at the three interlocking factors that made European expansion almost inevitable. We're talking about cannons, Catholicism, and stalemate.
Let's jump in with cannons because it's where the biggest myth lives. The idea that Europe had some kind of tech advantage.
Yeah, that's what I always assumed. Better guns, better ships.
Not at all. I mean, not at the start. China literally invented gunpowder. Their metallurgy was more advanced for centuries. And their navy. Well, it was on another level entirely.
You're talking about Zhang Shneng. He's treasure voyages.
Yes. Between 1405 and 1433, get this, we're talking about fleets of hundreds of ships sailing all the way to Africa.
And these weren't little boats.
No. Some of these treasure ships were maybe 5 times the size of Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria. It's an insane scale. They were projecting power across the entire Indian Ocean.
So the technology was there. The capital was clearly there. Why did they stop?
And that is the absolute core of it. It all came down to political centralization. The Ming court was one unified entity. They could do a cost-benefit analysis and just decide it wasn't worth it.
Too expensive, maybe not enough of a return on investment.
Precisely. So around the 1430s, the emperor says, that's it. They recalled the fleets. They even banned private seafaring. They had a political kill switch.
Kill switch.
Yeah.
Whereas Europe
had the complete opposite. Which brings us to our second point. Stalemate. Europe wasn't one thing. It was this chaotic mess of dozens of competing states.
Spain versus Portugal, England versus the Dutch, France versus the Holy Roman Empire. Constant low-level warfare.
Right, a total pressure cooker. And in that environment, you have what you could call a mandate for risk-taking. You simply could not afford to stop innovating, to stop exploring.
Because if you did, your neighbor would get an edge.
A fatal edge. And that could mean the end of your kingdom. So this constant competition, this paranoia, it drove them outward, but not just for glory.
It was about the money.
It was absolutely about the money. The only way to fund the nonstop wars back home was through brutal resource extraction abroad. The gold from the Americas wasn't for building hospitals, it was ammunition. It paid for the mercenaries to fight the Spanish or the French.
So it's this crazy feedback loop. And unlike China, if one king said no to an expedition,
another king or even a private banking family would say yes in a heartbeat. They were terrified of being left behind. There was no kill switch in Europe.
But that sounds so unstable. How did this whole fragmented system hold together? What was the glue?
That's our third piece of the puzzle, Catholicism. The church gave this chaotic system a shared story, a kind of institutional backbone that cut across all the rivalries.
What did that actually do in a practical sense?
2 crucial things. First, it gave them a non-economic reason to fund these insane, high-risk voyages. It wasn't just about gold, it was a mission from God, to spread Christianity, to find the mythical Prester John.
It provided the moral justification.
It did. And second, it provided a unique legal authority. This is the wild part. The Pope himself brokered the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494.
Right, where they literally drew a line on the map.
They drew a line on the map and divided the entire non-European world between Spain and Portugal. Imagine that. A legal framework for global plunder, legitimized by a shared religious authority. No one in China or India could have done that.
So to pull it all together, Europe's rise wasn't about being better. It was a byproduct of its own internal chaos.
Exactly. The stalemate created the need, the cannons provided the tools, and Catholicism gave it a legal and moral cover. It was an accidental empire born from weakness, not strength.
So the final thought for you, our listener, might be this. The most relentless, world-changing power isn't always a stable, centralized monopoly. Sometimes it's the frantic, desperate competition between rivals who are terrified of losing, which makes you wonder what modern systems are being driven forward by that exact same pressure today.